You know what's interesting is Michael Dell's had to make these same decisions. By the way, has Michael had a rough year? He got surpassed by Hewlett Packard. What did he have to do earlier this year? He had to kind of take over the leadership of the company, basically had to get rid of most of the senior team and get it replaced. By the way, profits up 74% since he's taken over the helm. And what I've always admired about Michael in all of the years that I've known him and that we've done our trips as recently as last year to Dell, is that given, just like you, the 75,000 problems he must have running a $70 billion plus company with 80,000 employees, he's always been able to articulate for the company a handful of priorities. In fact, if we were to fill out his one-page plan, if we were to look at what his focus was for 2006, which we're allowed to say post that year, was, look, just like all of you, he had revenue, gross margin, profit, and cash targets. But what he knows to do is focus on what we call the driver. What is that one thing that if we can move that needle next, will do the most not only to propel us this year, but into the next 3 to 5 years. Because clearly he's got a 3 to 5 year goal. He has stated it. He wants to get the leadership position in the PC market back from Hewlett Packard. So what does that mean he's got to do in 2006? And what he chose was an interesting critical number. There's actually a formal score in his industry called the ASCII score, and it measures your customer service and your quality. By the way, Apple, the standard bearer, has always been about 81. You saw some of the opening clips there of Steve Jobs. And Dell has been a respectable 79 right behind it. Well, what do you think happened 2 years ago? And those of you that have experienced Dell know that their service particularly had just collapsed. And so Michael, way before the media picked up on this, had actually stated that the focus for 2006 was to get the ASCII score from 71 back up to 79. He nailed what you'd call the critical number for the fourth column there of our one-page plan. But if he had stopped there, I'm not sure it would have happened. The real hard work was peeling the layers of the onion back and saying not what are the 100, but what are the handful of initiatives that we need to focus on as a company together that'll get that score up. And in fact, if we were looking at his quarterly plan for second quarter last year, the critical number for that 90 days, when we were there, there was an interesting statistic that they shared with us internally. It took on average 3.2 phone calls for you to do anything with Dell. For you to order something, to get something returned, get something repaired, get technical support. Some of you have lived that. And Michael's focus was this. Look, in the next 90 days, everywhere we can in the company, let's see if we can get that number of phone calls down as close to 1, if not 0, as we can. Now, it didn't fix everything, but they did eliminate 2 million phone calls that were needed to come into the organization in that 90 days. And by pounding on one initiative every 90 days for the last 2 years, we are seeing somewhat of a turnaround uptick within that company. And so to me, this is your challenge. Starting January 1st, for most of us, if we're on a calendar year, fiscal year, you've got a new quarter. And what I'd like you to do initially here, and you're going to have more time over the next 2 days to work on this, is I would like your team to get at least a stab at what is the needle? What is this measurable difference, this change that we need to drive in the next 90 days, that if we can accomplish that next, if we can knock that domino over of the entire pile of dominoes that are facing us any one day, that is the most important first next step in achieving something big long term. And so, as a team, take a stab. What is your critical number for the next 90 days? Go.